Hare Krishna Prabhupada Ram Jai Sri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's wait a few minutes so others join. Haribol. Thank you for joining, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandatam Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhu, please accept
Krishna
my humble obeisances. All
Prabhupada
glories to
Ram Jai
Prabhupada.
Sri Prabhupada.
Prabhu, can you chant the Mangalarcham prayers?
Yes, Prabhu.
Go, thank you.
No, Vishnu Padaya. Sorry, Prabhu. Uh, Actually, I was not seeing. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasudakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yotapadagamlam Sri Gurun Vaisnavansche श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्विताश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्यामने नमस्ते सारस्वते गौरवाणी विचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य तारिणे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् कृष्णोदां कथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृद्यन्तस्तवय भद्राणि विष्णोति सुरसताम् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमस्तुके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके इस translation you can read. Srinivadam Kada yes. Translation read please Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So, who wants to read first today? Hare Krishna Vivek Prabhu Dandakram Jai Śrīla Prabhupada. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandakram.
Continue from 11.
Prabhu, I can read the verses.
Yes, Prabhu.
Text 11. Nathamana Rishirvita Saptavatri Kritanjali Sthuvitatam Vikravya Vachaye Mudare Vitta. Synonyms: Nathamana, appealing; Rishi, the living entity; Vita, frightened; Sapta, Vitri, bound by the seven layers; Krita Anjali, with folded hands; Stuvita, praise; Tam, to the Lord; Viklavya, faltering; Vacha, with words; Yena, by whom; Udara, in the womb; Arpita, he was placed. Translation: Purport by Joint Basis Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: The living entity, in this frightful condition of life, bound by seven layers of material ingredients, prays with folded hands, appealing to the Lord who has put him in that condition. Purport: It is said that when a woman is having labor pains, she promises that she will never again become pregnant and suffer from such a severely painful condition. Similarly, when one is undergoing some surgical operation, he promises that he will never again act in such a way as to become diseased and have to undergo medical surgery. Or when one falls into danger, he promises that he will never again make the same mistake. Similarly, the living entity, when put into a hellish condition of life, prays to the Lord that he will never again commit sinful activities and have to be put into the womb for repeated birth and death. In the hellish condition within the womb, the living entity is
Yes, so may I read because HK's Prabhu have left.
Oh, maybe his
So
connection.
may I read?
In the hellish condition within the womb, the living entity is very much afraid of being born again. But when he is out of the womb, when he is in full life and good health, he forgets everything and commits again and again the same sins for which he was put into that horrible condition of existence. Text 12. जन्तुरुवाच तस्योपासनम् अवित्तुं जगदिच्छयता नानातनोर्भुवि चलाचरणारविन्दम् सोऽहं व्रजामि शरणं ह्यकुतो भयं मे येनेदृशी गतिरादर्श्य असतो nurupa. Jantu Vacha, the human soul said, Tasya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Upasanam, having approached for protection, Avitum, to protect Jagat, the universe, Ichaya, by his own will, Attanana, Tano, who accepts various forms, Bhuvi, on the earth, Chalat, walking, Charana, Arvindam, the lotus feet, Saha, I myself, Rajami, go Sharanam unto the shelter he indeed Akutabhayam, giving relief from all fear, me, may from me, Yena by whom Idrishi with such Gati condition of life, Adarshi was considered Asata impious Anurupa befitting. Translation: the human soul says, I take shelter to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in his various eternal forms and walks on the surface of the world. I take shelter of him only because he can give me relief from all fear, and from him I have received this condition of life, which is just befitting my impious activities. Purport: the word Chala Charanarvindam means the Supreme Personality of Godhead who actually walks or travels upon the surface of the world. For example, Lord Ramachandra actually walked on the surface of the world, and Lord Krishna also walked just like an ordinary man. The prayer, therefore, offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who descends to the surface of this earth or any part of this universe for the protection of the pious and the destruction of the impious, it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that when there is an increase of the religion and discrepancies arise in the real religious activities, the Supreme Lord comes to protect the pious and kill the impious. This verse indicates Lord Krishna. Another significant point in this verse is that the Lord comes Ichchaya by his own will, as Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, Sambhavyan Vamya Atmamaya, I will appear at my will and my internal potential power. He is not forced to come by the laws of material nature. It is stated here because he comes at his own will, and the form in which he descends is his eternal form. As the Supreme Lord puts the living entity into the condition of horrible existence, so he can also deliver him. As the Supreme Lord also puts the living entity into condition of horrible existence, so he can deliver him, and therefore one should seek shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna demands, give up everything and surrender unto me. And it is also said in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who approaches him does not come back again to accept therefore the form, accept form in material existence, but goes back to Godhead, back home, never to return. Text 13. यस्त्व अत्र बद्ध इवाकर्मभिरवृत्तात्मा भूतेन्द्रियस्यायमयम् अवलम्ब्य मयम् अस्ते विशुद्धम् अविकारन् अखण्डबोधम् अतप्यमान हृदयवसितां नामानि. Yahoo too also atra here Bhatta bound eva as if karma be by activities avrita covered atma the pure soul bhuta the gross elements indriya the senses asya the mind mayim consisting of avalambya having fallen mayam into maya hasta remains vishuddham completely pure avikaram without change Akhanda Bodham, possessed of unlimited knowledge. Ata Atapyamana, repentant. Hridaya, in the heart. Avasitam, residing. Namani, offer my respectful obeisances. Translation: I, the pure soul, appearing now to be bound up by my activities, I am lying in the womb of my mother. By the arrangement of my offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is also here with me, but who is unaffected and changeless. He is unlimited, but he is perceived in the repentant heart. To him I offer my respectful obeisances. Purport: as stated in the previous verse, the Jiva soul says, I take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, constitutionally the Jiva soul is the subordinate servitor of the Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead. Both the Supreme Soul and the Jiva soul are sitting in the same body as confirmed in the Upanishads. They are sitting as friends. The one is suffering and the other is aloof from the suffering condition of life. In this verse it is said, Vishuddham Avikaram Akhanda Bodham. The super soul is always sitting apart from all contamination. The living entity is contaminated and is suffering because he has a material body, but that does not mean that because the Lord is also with him, he also has a material body. He is avikaram, changeless. He is always the same supreme, but unfortunately, the Mayavadi philosophers, because of their impure hearts, understand that the supreme soul, the super soul, is different from the individual soul. It is said here, Attatyamana Hridaya Vasitam. He is in the heart of every living entity, but he can be realized only by a soul who is repentant. The individual soul becomes repentant and repentant that will forget his constitutional position, wanted to become one with the Supreme Soul, and tried his best to lord it over material nature. He has been baffled and therefore he is repentant. At the time, super soul or the relationship between the super soul and the individual soul is realized. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, after many, many births, the knowledge comes to the conditioned soul that Vasudeva is great, he is master, and he is Lord. The individual soul is the servant, and therefore he surrenders unto him. At that time he becomes Mahatma, a great soul. Therefore, a fortunate living being who comes to this understanding even within the womb of his mother has his liberation assured. Text 14. यह पंचभूत रचिते रहिता शरीरे छन्नो यथेन्द्रियगुणार्थ चिदात्मकोऽहं तेनाविकुण्ठमहिमानं ऋषिं तमेनं वन्दे परं प्रकृतिपुरुषयो पुमांसं यह who Panchabhuta, five gross elements, Rachite, made of Rahita, separated, Sharire, in the material body, Channa, covered, Ayatha, unfilled, Indriya, senses, Guna, qualities, Artha, objects of senses, Chit, ego, Atmaka, consisting of Aham, I, Tena, by a material body, Avikunta, Mahimanam, whose glories are unobscured, Arashim, all-knowing, Tam, that Enam, unto him, Vande, our karma businesses, Param, transcendental, Prakriti, to material nature, Purushayo, to the living entities, Pumsam, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation: I am separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of five elements, and therefore my qualities and senses are being misused. Although I am essentially spiritual, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to material nature, and the living entities devoid because he is devoid of such a material body, and because he is always glorious in his spiritual qualities, for my respectful obeisances. Purport: the difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that the living entity is prone to be subjected to material nature, whereas the Supreme Godhead is always transcendental to material nature, as well as to the living entities. When the living entity is put into material nature, then his senses and qualities are polluted or designated. There is no possibility for the Supreme Lord to become embodied by material qualities or material senses. For that reason, for the reason that he is above the influence of material nature and cannot possibly be put in darkness of ignorance, like the living entities. Because of his full knowledge, he is never subjected to the influence of material nature. Material nature is always under his control, and it is therefore not possible that material nature can control the personality of it, since identity is with material nature. But when he is freed from his materiality, he is that
Prabhu, your connection is cutting. Where were we?
The entire process. The entire process. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Where is the entire process?
The last one.
Yes, Prabhu, it was cutting a little.
I think Shubham Prabhu
Okay.
wanted to continue.
Yes, Prabhu, after this, Prabhu can read.
Can I
Yes,
read?
Prabhu, you
Yes, Prabhu.
read this part totally again, Prabhu,
Yes,
because
Prabhu.
your connection was not good.
Okay. Now is it okay?
Yes,
Yeah,
Prabhu.
now it's
Yeah, now
okay.
it's good.
Okay, Prabhu. I can continue the whole puppet. I can read it from first. Oh, you can scroll up.
Oh, was this finished?
No, Prabhu. I think Shubham Prabhu said that he didn't hear the whole purport, I think.
Yes, Prabhu, you can finish this purport. Oh, you mean yes, Prabhu, okay.
Yes,
You mean the whole purport?
yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Purport. The difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that the living entity is prone to be subjected to material nature, whereas the Supreme Godhead is always transcendental to material nature as well as to the living entities. When the living entity is put into material nature, then his senses and qualities are polluted or designated. There is no possibility for the Supreme Lord to become embodied by material qualities or material senses for the reason that he is above the influence of material nature and cannot be possibly put into the darkness of ignorance like the living entities. Because of his full knowledge, he is, you can scroll down, Prabhu, never subjected to the influence of material nature. Material nature is always under his control, and it is therefore not possible that material nature can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the identity of the living entity is very minute, he is prone to be subjected to material nature. But when he is freed from this material body, which is false, then he attains the same spiritual nature as the Supreme Lord. At that time, there is no qualitative difference between him and the Supreme Lord, but because he is not so quantitatively powerful as to never be put under the influence of material nature, he is quantitatively different from the Lord. The entire process of devotional service is to purify oneself of this contamination of material nature and put oneself on the spiritual platform, where he is qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is said that the living entity is always free. You can scroll down, Prabhu. Asango Here I am Purusha. The living entity is liberated. His material contamination is temporary and his actual position is that he is liberated. The liberation achieved by Krishna consciousness, which begins from the point of surrender. Therefore, it is said here, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person. Thank you, Prabhu. If someone wants to continue.
Haribol, thank you so much. Will be next.
Yes, Prabhu, may I read?
Yes, Shubham Prabhu, you can read few, then Vivek Prabhu's turn.
यन्माययोरुगुणकर्मनिबन्धनेऽस्मिन् संसारिके पतिचरां सत तदभिप्सरमेण नष्टस्मृति पुनरयं प्रणीतलोकम् युक्त्या कया महदनुग्रहमन्तरेण यत् आप्तरात् Maya by Maya Urguna rising from the great most karma activities Mandani with bonds assume this samsarike of repeated birth and death three on the path run wandering that of him Abhis Abhisamina the great pains not lost Smriti memory again I am this divinity proudly Mary Lokam his true nature. Yuktya Kaya by what means Mahatanugraham, the grace of the Lord, and without. Yes, pursued translation. The human soul for the praise. The divinity is put under the influence of material.
Maybe Prabhu is disconnected.
Everyone's connection is going today when they start reading.
Sometimes it will be come back to I don't know why.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, Prabhu, you can read that. I think you can read until. Oh, now he's back.
So, Prabhu,
Okay.
I read from where I left.
You can start here, Prabhu, from the beginning.
The human soul further prays. The divinity is put under the influence of material nature and continues a hard struggle for existence on the path of repeated birth and death. This conditional life is due to his forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, without the Lord's mercy, how can he again engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord? But the Mayadi philosophers say that simply by cultivation of knowledge, by mental speculation, one can be liberated from the condition of material bondage. But here it is said, one is liberated not by knowledge, but by the mercy of God. The knowledge, the condition soul gains by mental speculation. However powerful it may be, is always too imperfect to approach the absolute truth. It is said that without the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot understand Him or His actual form, quality, and name. Those who are not in devotional service go on speculating for many, many thousands of years, but they are still unable to understand the nature of the absolute truth. One can be liberated in the knowledge of absolute truth simply by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is clearly said herein that our memory is lost because we are now covered by his material energy. Arguments may be put forward as to why we have been put under the influence of this material energy by supreme will of the Lord. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita where the Lord says, I am sitting in everyone's heart and due to me one is forgetful or one is alive in knowledge. The forgetfulness of the conditioned soul is also due to the direction of the Supreme Lord. Eleventy misuses little independence when he wants to lord it over material nature. This misuse of independence, which is called Maya, is always available. Otherwise, there would be no independence. Independence implies that one can use it properly or improperly. It is not. It is not static. It is dynamic. Therefore, misuse of independence is the cause of becoming influenced by Maya. Maya is so strong that the Lord says that it's very difficult to surmount her influence. What one can do so very easily if he surrenders unto me. Mamayoyi Prapadyanti. Anyone who surrenders unto him can overcome the influence of stringent laws of marine nature. It is clearly said here that living is put under the influence of Maya by his will. If anyone wants to get out of this entanglement, this can be made possible simply by his mercy. The activities of conditioned soul under the influence of material nature are explained here. Every conditioned soul is engaged in different type of work under the influence of material nature. We can see in the material world that the conditioned soul acts so powerfully that he is playing wonderfully in creating the so-called advancement of material civilization for sense gratification, but actually his position is to know that he is an eternal servant of Supreme Lord when he is acting that he is an eternal servant of Supreme. When he is in perfect knowledge, he knows that the Supreme Lord is the supreme worshipful object and that the divinity is his eternal servant. Without this knowledge, engaged in material activities that is called ignorance. Thank you, Prabhu. Now someone can read.
Okay, I can read one verse.
Ramesh Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thanks. Text, Prabhu, what is the number? That's the text. Okay, text 16. Janman, Janman, Yat Yetad Adhad Katham Sadevas Traikalekam Striha Chareshu Anuvrattitasma Tam Jivakarma Padavim Anuvartamanas Tapa Trayo Pasamano Pasamanaya Vayam Pajem Pajema Janma Janmana. Sorry. Okay. Jnanam, knowledge, yet which yet this adhat gave Atmana, who other than Saha, that Devaha, the personality of Godhead, Trai Kalekam, of the three phases of time, Stira, Chareshu, in the inanimate and animate objects, Anuvartitha, dwelling, Amsaha, is partial representation, tam unto him, Jiva of the Jiva souls, Karma Padavim, the path of fruitive activities, Anuvartamana, who are pursuing Tapaktraya from the threefold miseries, Upasamanaya, for getting free, Vyayam, we, Bhajeham, Bhajima, must surrender. Translation: no one other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead has the localized Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. He is directing all the inanimate and animate objects. He is present in the three phases of time: past, present, and future. Therefore, the conditioned soul is engaged in different activities by his direction, and in order to get free from the threefold miseries of this conditional life, we have to surrender unto him only. Purport: when a conditioned soul is seriously anxious to get out of the influence of material clutches, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated within him as Paramatma, gives him this knowledge: surrender unto me, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita. Give up all other engagements. Just surrender unto me. It is to be accepted that the source of knowledge is the Supreme Person. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Matha Jnanam Aponam Cha. The Lord says, through me one gets real knowledge and memory, and one also forgets through me. To one who wants to be materially satisfied or, or who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord gives the opportunity to forget his service and engage in the so-called happiness of material activities. Similarly, when one is frustrated in lording it over material nature and is very serious about getting out of this material entanglement, the Lord from within gives him the knowledge that he has to surrender unto him. Then there is liberation. This knowledge cannot be imparted by anyone other than the Supreme Lord or his representative. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya instructs Rupa Goswami that the living entity wanders in life after life, undergoing the miserable conditions of material existence. But when one is very anxious to get free from the material entanglement, then he gets entanglement through a spiritual master and Krishna. This means that Krishna, as the super soul, is seated within the heart of the living entity, and when the living entity is serious, the Lord directs him to take shelter within the shelter. Sorry. Directs him to take shelter of his representative, a bona fide spiritual master, directed from within and guided externally by the spiritual master. One attains the path of Krishna consciousness, which is the way out of the material cultures. Therefore, there is no possibility of one's being situated in his own position unless he is blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unless he is entangled with the supreme knowledge. One has to undergo the severe penalties of the hard struggle for existence in the material nature. The spiritual master is therefore the mercy eh, manifestation of the Supreme Person. The conditioned soul has to take the direct instruction from the spiritual master, and those gradually becomes entangled with the path of Krishna consciousness. The seed of Krishna consciousness is sown within the heart of the conditioned soul, and when one hears instruction from the spiritual master, the seed fructifies and his life is blessed. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I have to leave now, so like my charge is
Yes,
I have to
Prabhu.
pick.
Thank you so much for reading and joining the
Okay,
session. It
thanks so
was
much.
really nice, Prabhu.
Thank you
See you
so
again
much,
tomorrow.
Prabhu.
Haribol. So I think it's Rushikesh Prabhu's turn or Siddharth Prabhu's turn. Hare Krishna, Siddharth Prabhu, Dandar Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Praveen Prabhu Dandot from Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Did he join? Yes. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Praveen Prabhu, Dandar Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
No, Prabhuji is done
I
from Jai
think
Shri Prabhupada. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Can you read, Prabhu? Or are you having a call?
No, I'm done with the call now, so I can read, no problem. So
Haribol. Yes, Prabhu. Others have already read.
okay, which chapter is this? Is 31?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
31:17.
Canto 3, chapter
Yes.
31 and text 17. Okay. देह्यान्यदेह वि विवरे जठा राज्ञि नासृग् विन्मूत्र कूप पतितो वृषा तप्त देहः इच्छन्न इतो विवसितुं गणयन् स्वमासान् निर्वास्यते कृपणधीर् भगवन् कदा नु synonyms dehi, the embodied soul, anya deha of another body, vivare in the abdomen, jathara of the stomach, agni na by the fire, ashrik of blood, vit stool, mutra and urine, kupa in a pool, patitaha fallen, brisha strongly, tapta scorch, deha his body, icchan desiring, itaha from that place, vivasitum to get out, ganayan counting, swa masan his months, nirvashyate will be released, kripana dhihi person of miserly intelligence, Bhagavan, O Lord, Kada, when, Nu, indeed. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: fallen into a pool of blood, stool, and urine within the abdomen of his mother, his own body scorched by the mother's gastric fire, the embodied soul, anxious to get out, counts his months and prays, O my Lord, when shall I, a wretched soul, be released from this confinement? Purport. The precarious condition of the living entity within the womb of his mother is described here. On one side of where the child is floating, there is the heat of gastric fire, and on the other side, there is urine, stool, blood, and discharges. After 7 months, the child who has regained his consciousness feels the horrible condition of his existence and prays to the Lord. Counting the months until his release, he becomes greatly anxious to get out of the confinement. The so-called civilized man does not take account of this horrible condition of life, and sometimes for the purpose of self gratification he tries to kill the child by contraceptive methods. Unserious about the horrible condition in the womb, such persons continue in materialism, grossly misusing the chance of the human form of life. The word Kripana Dhihi is significant in this word. Dhi means intelligence and Kripana means miserly. Conditional life is for persons who are of miserly intelligence or who do not properly utilize their intelligence. In the human form of life, the intelligence is developed and one has to utilize that developed intelligence to get out of the cycle of birth and death. One who does not do so is a miser. Just like a person who has immense wealth but does not utilize it, keeping it simply to see. A person who does not actually utilize his human intelligence to get out of the clutches of Maya, the cycle of birth and death, is accepted as miserly. The exact opposite of miserly is Udara, very magnanimous. A Brahmana is called Udara because he utilizes his human intelligence for spiritual realization. He uses that intelligence to preach Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the public, and therefore he is magnanimous. Text 18. येनेतृषीं गतिम् असौ दशमास्य ईशा सङ्ग्राहितः पुरुदयेन भगवदृशेन स्वेनैव तुष्यतु कृतेन स दीननाथः को नाम तत् प्रति विनाञ्जलिम् asya kuryat. Synonyms. Yena, by whom the Lord idrishim, such gatim, a condition, asau, that person, myself, masasya, masya, 10 months old, Isha, O Lord, sangrahitam, was made to accept Puru Dayena, very merciful, Bhavadrishena, incomparable, Svena, own, Eva, alone, Tushyatu, may he be pleased, Kritena, with his act, Saha, that Dina Nataha, refuse of the fallen souls, Kaha, who, Nama, indeed, that mercy, Prati, in return, Vina, except with Anjalim, folded hands, Asya, of the Lord, Kuryat, can repay. Translation. My dear Lord, by your causeless mercy, I am awakened to consciousness, although I am only 10 months old. For this causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the friend of all fallen souls, there is no way to express my gratitude but to pray with folded hands. Purport. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, intelligence and forgetfulness are both supplied by the Supreme Soul, sitting with the individual soul within the body. When he sees that a conditioned soul is very serious about getting out of the clutches of the material influence, the Supreme Lord gives intelligence internally as super soul and externally as the spiritual master. Or
Prabhu, what was the number? I pressed the space bar accidentally.
18.
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Purport, where it was?
Yes, purport. Let me read it again from the beginning of the purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, intelligence and forgetfulness are both supplied by the Supreme Super soul sitting with the individual soul within the body. When he sees that the conditioned soul is very serious about getting out of the clutches of the material influence, the Supreme Lord gives intelligence internally as super soul and externally as the spiritual master or as an incarnation of the personality of Godhead himself. He helps by speaking instructions such as Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is always seeking the opportunity to reclaim the fallen souls to his abode, the kingdom of God. We should always feel very much obliged to the personality of Godhead, for he is always anxious to bring us into the happy condition of eternal life. There is no sufficient means to repay the personality of Godhead for his act of benediction. Therefore, we can simply feel gratitude and pray to the Lord with folded hands. This prayer of the child in the womb may be questioned by some atheistic people. How can a child pray in such a nice way in the womb of his mother? Everything is possible by the grace of the Lord. The child is put into such a precarious condition externally, but internally he is the same and the Lord is there. By the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. Text 19. पश्यत्ययम् पश्यत्ययम् दिशण्णया ननु सप्त वध्री वध्रिः शारीरके दम शरीरी अपरः स्वे देहे स्वदेहे यत् सृष्टयासं तम् अहं पुरुषं पुराणं पश्ये बहिर्हृदि च चैत्यम् इव प्रतीतं synonyms pashyati sees I am his this living entity dhishanaya with intelligence nanu only sapta vadrihi bound by the seven layers of material coverings sharirake agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions dama shariri having dama shariri having a body for self control aparaha another swadehe in his body yet by the supreme lord srishtaya endeavored asam was tam him aham I purusham person Puranam, oldest, Pashye, see, Bahihi, outside, Hridi, in the heart, Cha, and Chaityam, the source of the ego, Iva, indeed, Pratitam, recognized. Translation: the living entity in another type of body sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom I have been blessed with this body, and by whose grace I can see Him within and without. Purport: the evolutionary process of different types of bodies is something like that of a fructifying flower. Just as there are different stages in the growth of a flower, the bud stage, the blooming stage, and the full-fledged grown-up stage of aroma and beauty, similarly, there are 8.4 million species of bodies in gradual evolution, and there is systematic progress from the lower species of life to the higher. The human form of life is supposed to be the highest, for it offers consciousness for getting out of the clutches of birth and death. The fortunate child in the womb of his mother realizes his superior position and is thereby distinguished from other bodies. Animals in bodies lower than that of the human being are conscious only as far as their bodily distress and happiness are concerned. They cannot think of more than their bodily necessities of life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But in the human form of life, by the grace of God, the consciousness is so developed that a man can evaluate his exceptional position and thus realize the self and the supreme Lord. The word Dhamma Shariri means that we have a body in which we can control the senses and the mind. The complication of materialistic life is due to an uncontrolled mind and uncontrolled senses. One should feel grateful to the Supreme Personality of God for having obtained such a nice human form of body, and he should properly utilize it. The distinction between an animal and a man is that the animal cannot control himself and has no sense of decency, whereas the human being has a sense of decency and can control himself. If this controlling power is not exhibited by the human being, then he is no better than an animal. By controlling the senses or by the process of yoga, regulation, one can understand the position of his self, the super soul, the world, and their interrelation. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. Otherwise, we are no better than animals. Real self-realization by means of controlling the senses is explained herein. One should try to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his own self also. To think oneself the same as the Supreme is not self-realization. Here it is clearly explained that the Supreme Lord is Anadi or Purana, and he has no other cause. The living entity is born of the Supreme Godhead as part and parcel. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Anadiradir Govinda. Govinda, the Supreme Person, has no cause. He is unborn. But the living entity is born of him. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamevamshaha. Both the living entity and the Supreme Lord are unborn. But it has to be understood that the supreme cause of the part and parcel is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Samhita therefore says that everything has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvakarana Karanam. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this also. Janmadhyasya Yataha. The absolute truth is the original source of everyone's birth. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha. I am the source of birth of everything, including Brahma and Lord Shiva and the living entities. This is self realization. One should know that he is under the control of the Supreme Lord and not think that he is fully independent. Otherwise, why should he be put into conditional life? Text 20. Soham vasanna api vibho bahu दुःखवासं गर्भान्न निर्जिगमिषे बहिरन्धकूपे यत्रोपयातम् उपसर्पति देवमाया मिथ्या मतिर्यदनु संसृति चक्रम् एतत् श्रेणिंस् सः अहम् I myself Vasan, living, api, although, Vibho, O Lord, Bahu, Dukkha, with many miseries, Vasam, in a condition, Garbhat, from the abdomen, not, Nijjigamishe, I wish to depart, Bahihi, outside, Andha Kupe, in the blind well, Yatra, where, Upayatam, one who goes there, Upasarpati, she captures Devamaya, the external energy of the Lord, Mithya, false, Matihi, identification, Yat, which Maya, Anu, according to Samsriti, of continual birth and death, Chakram, cycle, etat, this. Translation. Therefore, my Lord, although I am living in a terrible condition, still I don't wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Your external energy, called Devamaya, at once captures the newly born child and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continual birth and death, begins. Purport. As long as the child is within the womb of his mother, he is in a very precarious and horrible condition of life. But the benefit is that he revives pure consciousness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and prays for deliverance. But once he is outside the abdomen, when a child is born, Maya, or the illusionary energy, is so strong that he is immediately overpowered into considering his body to be his self. Maya means illusion or that which is actually not. In the material world, everyone is identifying with his body. This false egoistic consciousness of I am this body at once develops after the child comes out of the womb. The mother and other relatives are awaiting the child, and as soon as he is born, the mother feeds him and everyone takes care of him. The living entity soon forgets his position and becomes entangled in bodily relationships. The entire material existence is entangled in this bodily conception of life. Real knowledge means to develop the consciousness of I am not this body, I am spirit soul, an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Real knowledge entails renunciation or non acceptance of this body as the self. By the influence of Maya, the external energy, one forgets everything just after birth. Therefore, the child is praying that he refers to remain within the womb rather than come out. It is said that the Sukadeva Goswami, on this consideration, remained for 16 years within the womb of his mother. He did not want to be entangled in false bodily identification. After cultivating such knowledge within the womb of his mother, he came out at the end of 16th year and immediately left home so that he might not be captured by the influence of Maya. The influence of Maya is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita as insurmountable. But insurmountable Maya can be overcome simply by Krishna consciousness. That is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam eva ye pradapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Whoever surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna can get out of this false conception of life. By the influence of Maya only, one forgets his eternal relationship with Krishna and identifies himself with his body and the byproducts of the body, namely wife, children, society, friendship, and love. Thus, he becomes a victim of the influence of Maya and his materialistic life of continued birth and death becomes still more stringent. Text 21. Tasmadaham vigata viklava uddharishya atmanam आशु तमसः सुहृदात्मनैव भूयो यथा व्यसनम् एतद् अनेकरन्ध्रं मामे भविष्यद् उपसादित विष्णुपादः. He prays to the Lord that I will worship you. Tasmat, therefore, aham, I, vikata, seized, viklavaha, agitation, uddharishye, shall deliver, atmanam, myself, ashu, quickly, tamasaha, from the darkness, suhruda atmana, with friendly intelligence, eva, indeed, bhuyaha, again, yata, so that vyasanam, plight, etat, this aneka randhram, entering many wombs, ma, not, may, my, bhavishyat, may occur, upasadita, placed, upasadita, placed in my mind Vishnupadaha, the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Translation. Therefore, without being agitated anymore, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of nescience with the help of my friend, clear consciousness. Simply by keeping the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu in my mind, I shall be saved from entering into the wombs of many mothers for repeated birth and death. Purport. The miseries of material existence begin from the very day when the spirit soul takes shelter in the ovum and sperm of the mother and father. They continue after he is born from the womb, and then they are further prolonged. We don't know whether the suffering ends. It does not end, however, by once changing his body. The change of body is taking place at every moment, but that does not mean that we are improving from the fatal condition of life to a more comfortable condition. The best thing is therefore to develop Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated, Upashadita Vishnupadaha. This means realization of Krishna consciousness. One who is intelligent by the grace of the Lord and develops Krishna consciousness is successful in his life because simply by keeping himself in Krishna consciousness, he will be saved from the reputation of birth and death. The child prays that, here it is mentioned, the child prays that it is better to remain within the womb of darkness and be constantly absorbed in Krishna consciousness than to get out and again fall a victim to the illusory energy. The illusory energy acts within the abdomen as well as outside the abdomen, but the trick is that one should remain Krishna conscious, and then the effect of such a horrible condition cannot act unfavorably upon him. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that once intelligence he is his friend, and the same intelligence can also be his enemy. Uttaredatmanatmanam na atmana sadayat atmayaya atmano bandhu atmayava ripuratmanah. Here also the same idea is repeated. Suhridatmanaiva, friendly intelligence, absorption of intelligence in the personal service of Krishna and full consciousness of Krishna always are the path of self realization and liberation without being unnecessarily agitated. If we take to the process of Krishna consciousness by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, the cycle of birth and death can be stopped for good. It may be questioned herein how the child can be fully Krishna conscious within the womb of the mother without any paraphernalia with which to execute Krishna consciousness. It is not necessary to arrange for paraphernalia to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. The child wants to remain within the abdomen of his mother, of its mother, and at the same time wants to become free from the clutches of Maya. One does not need any material arrangement to cultivate Krishna consciousness. One can cultivate one. Where am I? One can cultivate Krishna consciousness anywhere and everywhere, provided he can always think of Krishna, the Mahamantra, the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, can be chanted even within the abdomen of one's mother. One can chant while sleeping, while working, while imprisoned in the womb, or while outside. This Krishna consciousness cannot be checked in any circumstance. The conclusion of the child's prayer is let me remain in this condition, although it is very miserable. It is better not to fall a victim to Maya again by going outside. Hmm. Text 22. Kapila Uvacha Evam Kruta Matir Garbhe Dashamasyah Stuvan Rishihi Sadyah Kshipati Avachi Nam Prasutyai Suti Marutaha. Synonyms. Kapila Uvacha, Lord Kapila said, Evam thus Krita Matihi, desiring Garbha in the womb, Dasha Masyaha, 10-month old Stuvan, extolling Rishihi, the living entity, Sadhyaha. At that very time, Kshipati propels Avachinam, turned downward Pasutyai, for Prasutyai, for birth, Suti
Prabhu,
Marutaha,
please
and
end
for
the session.
childbirth. Sorry, Prabhu, can you please say that again? Okay, let me continue. Translation. Lord Kapila continued, the 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. But while he thus extols the Lord, the wind that helps precipitation propels him forth with his face turned downward so that he may be born.
Okay,
Text
this is last
23.
one. Haribol.
Yeah, text 23. तेना तेनावसृष्टः सहसा कृत्वा वाक् शिर आतुरः विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण निरुच्छ्वासो हत स्मृतिः. Synonyms. तेना, by that word, avashritah, pushed downwards, sahasa, suddenly, kritva, turned, avak, downwards, siraha, his head, aturaha, suffering, vinishkrinamati, he comes out, krichrena, with great trouble, niruchvasaha, breathless, hata, deprived of smriti, memory. Translation. Pushed downward all of a sudden by the wind, the child comes out with great trouble, head downward, breathless and deprived of memory due to severe agony. Purport. The word Krichrena means with great difficulty. When the child comes out of the abdomen through the narrow passage due to pressure, there the breathing system completely stops, and due to agony, the child loses his memory. Sometimes the trouble is so severe that the child comes out dead or almost dead. One can imagine what the pangs of birth are like. The child remains for 10 months in that horrible condition within the abdomen, and at the end of 10 months, he is forcibly pushed out. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out that a person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness should always consider the four pangs of birth, death, disease, and old age. The materialistic advances in many ways, but he is unable to stop these four principles of suffering inherent in material existence. Hmm. She is serious. One can easily understand what the miseries are related to death, disease, and old age, but not with birth, because no one remembers what happened in our mother's wombs.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, this is true. Yesterday this
Hmm.
happened also. And yeah, you can explain this. Everyone are shocked about everything else but birth. They think it's happy thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it is really clearly mentioned in the Bhagavatam, but at the same time, the living soul inside mother's womb also remembers the past lives as well. Okay,
Yes,
it
Prabhu.
has got the
Yesterday
memory to. Okay, yeah, yes, exactly.
100
In the
lives.
previous one,
He's fortunate he
right,
can remember.
right. Yes, I've read it somewhere. Yeah, it's in the previous chapters again.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
And then there was then there was the prayer that he makes, that he will never.
Forget God, forget Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Hmm. चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापणं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनं नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निजसर्वशक्तेस् तत्रार्पिता नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशं याजनि नानुरागः तृणादपि सुनीचेन करोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीयः सदा हरिः न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहेतुकी त्वयि ऐनन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कज स्थितधूळि सदृशं विचिन्तय नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निशितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमीषेण चक्षुषा प्रविशायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहे न मे आशिष्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः
Haribol, glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, come down, bro. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your fatherless devotion service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and when will the hair of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the whole in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, but he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Sri Krishna, Sri Sikshastam ki jai, Chaitanya
Jai,
Mahaprabhu ki jai,
Jai,
Srila
Jai,
Prabhupada ki jai.
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 बहुजन्म करे यदि श्रवण कीर्तन तबुतन पाया कृष्ण पदे प्रेम धन. If one is infested with the 10 offenses, in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of Godhead. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name are as follows. First offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. Second offense is to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Third offense is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master and considering him as an ordinary person. Fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. Fifth offense is to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. Sixth offense is to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. Seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. Eighth offense is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. Ninth offense is to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Tenth offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Come on, bro. Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patnanam pavanebhyo
पतितं
वैष्णवानां
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
कोटि
वैष्णवेभ्यो
वैष्णव की जय, श्रील
नमः।
प्रभुपाद की जय, नित्य गौर प्रेमानंदे,
जय
हरि हरि बोल।
जय
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 हरि
जय
बोल।
हरि
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 बोल।
बोल।
Thank you so much, Prabhus, for this really late reading session. It's almost 10 p.m. It was really
Yes,
nice
Prabhu.
reading with you. Thank you so much, Praveen Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for
Hare
hosting,
Krishna.
Swami Prabhu.
No problem. It's my pleasure to have your association. Thank you so much. Okay, tomorrow we continue. I'll be earlier tomorrow.
Sure,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jai Shri Prabhu.